Hi, I'm Arun Singh. With me is Ashok Row Kavi. He's well known to be one of the first gay persons to come out publicly in the country. It was year 1977 when a lot of us were not even born. It was in 1986 when he explained the term gay in a magazine called Savvy Magazine. And you yourself have been a journalist, and you started Bombay Dost, which was India's first gay magazine in 1990. And when you were talking about HIV or AIDS, you also went on to establish Humsafar Trust, which is a large sexual health NGO in India. And you've done great work on that front as well. But when I say that, you must be proud of yourself, of course, you said that, it's absolutely natural for you to come out at that point of time. But why I say proud is, in those circumstances, how difficult was it in the year 1977? If you can just take us back.
It was, you see, I was mostly out in my professional career. People in the press club in Bombay, where I was the secretary for 3 years, knew I was gay. We talked about it. We talked about it in the press room, in the newsroom. So it was the question of coming out in the public realm was just one step out, So, but one thing I'll tell you, I had no idea what was in store for me. It was like an abyss, opening a door and finding there is only darkness on the other side, because कोई रास्ता मुझे दिखाई नहीं दे रहा था कि कैसे करें. I had a lot of gay friends, but none of them really told me how to go ahead. I had to do that on my own.
And what was the response you got from your immediate family or friends?
My father by that time had died. So I had my old widowed mother, my widowed aunt, and they were a little horrified. They said, what is this? I mean, do you have to talk about your private life like that so openly? And I said, well, it is part of me and I'm not ashamed of it. But my friends were horrified. They said, you will get a blowback. You will not get that easy accepted in society, which is true. Everywhere I went, for example, there'll be a very dead silence about the issue of homosexuality or my private life. What was I doing? For example, I had a big fight with my mother, who arranged a marriage proposal for me, and I turned it down. And to my utter shock, she turned around and said, you're my first child, and you were a premature child. I was born when I was 7 months in her stomach, 6 or 7 months. And she said, I hope you had died when you were born. And that was a huge shock to me. I never recovered from that. Even right until the end, I was hoping she would say sorry for it. But she didn't say sorry to me. She said sorry to her caregiver. कि अशोक को कहना कि जो मैंने कहा वो बहुत गलत कहा, लेकिन मैं उससे नहीं कह सकती हूँ, तो आप कह देना कि मैं सॉरी हूँ. And I felt I didn't get a closure, because मुझसे नहीं कहा गया, और किससे कहा गया कि मुझे कहे. But it goes to show that she was not also suffering from a huge load of guilt, in this factor. So I sympathize with her. No, parents also have their own journey. A lot of people who are coming out of the closet, ये सोचते हैं कि ये हमारी कहानी है, कैसे कहना समाज को कि हम ऐसे हैं. लेकिन हम नहीं समझते हैं कि we don't understand at all the journey that our parents take along with them. Trying to come to terms with a child, they don't know what to do.
Exactly, and now we have Pride Month, and do you think it's mere symbolic, or you actually think it's doing wonders for the community? We actually need something like Pride Month.
Recently there was the Pune Pride, okay, and Pune is a very orthodox city. You can show that pride, and every alternate day, Bindu Madhav Khire, who is the person who leads the pride in Pune, and is very strict about who should be in that march, for very many things. He gets parents, he gets corporate people, he even has policemen, giving out flowers to LGBT people, not to get worried and come to them for police harassment, if there's any harassment. So he is putting out one panel every day from the person who comes for that pride march for the first time. What do they feel? And you feel so proud that these people say that, for the first time I saw so many people like myself. और मुझे इतना अच्छा लगा कि मैं अपने लोगों के बीच में हूँ, you know, and then I felt that I am free now.
So there's a sense of belongingness also for the
Yeah,
community when
and
an event like that
that is
comes
what
up.
pride is about. अगर
Right.
आप अभी देखोगे, you know, there's a lot of people say you can do what you want, be what you want.
And you've been into activism as well, and you've seen COVID-19 pandemic unfolding in front of us. How has that affected the community? I want to know your personal experience you've seen around.
Terrible. What is happening in the LGBT communities is there are 3 epidemics lying on top of each other. पहला epidemic तो HIV का है. Now HIV reduces your immunity. So the most common thing among opportunistic infection is really TB. Nearly 30% anecdotally of gay men who are HIV positive are also prone to TB infection. और उसके ऊपर there is COVID. Why now is COVID there? Because LGBT people, our life is outside the house. And during the COVID time, another thing was a lot of transgender and those who were into not just being gay or transgender, but also into sex work, because that is one way you earn a living if you don't have this. If you observe now, the WhatsApp groups that are there in the LGBT community, they're talking about jobs. People desperately want jobs. So they are not thrown back into a situation where they have to have sex in public, all that sort of thing. You know? So that is the big issue now. The COVID issue now is still very the vaccinations. Most of the groups are having vaccination camps, you know, for their beneficiary base volta. If I'm working with 1,000 people or 2,000 people, I call them all in and say, "Ki next week हम vaccination कर रहे हैं, तो आइए आप." And that way, there has been a lot of awareness.
I absolutely agree with you. And in the end, I just want you to, as I started asking you, looking back in time, I would also like to close this chat with you, going back in time and, tell us if there was one thing that you could tell Ashok Row Kavi of the 90s for the way ahead, what would you tell him?
I would say do exactly as you done, you know. But I would be my advice to youngsters is don't just jump in, because when you say, I've seen a lot of youngsters saying it is not I'm not, I don't care if my parents are shocked or anything. I want to come out. आप सोच लीजिए कि even they have to go through the journey. You know, when I saw my mother contending with that issue, she didn't know what gay meant. You know, a lot of our mothers are married at very young age when they don't know much about sex. You know, and to suddenly know about this different world to them is a wonder. You know, oh, this is what you do. What do you guys do? You know, and then now these films are coming on gay issues. They're seeing them and they're saying, oh, is the world so difficult? And I said it was, you know, but when you are my mother, I'm not afraid of anything. I used to say that, and because we need to be with them on their journeys, so which I was not in many times.
So you would say it's not an independent journey, you know, and the entire family actually goes.
It never is. The independent journey is within yourself to be yourself.
And now I know why you're first in so many things. You're born on first. So that's the reason behind that. But thank you so very much, Mr. Kavi. It was lovely having you, and thanks for opening up and chatting in such a candid way.